Hello and welcome to the Irish Estate. Previously, I was talking about Gothick with a K here in Ireland and its use for various small outbuildings in parks and gardens during the 18th century, such as the shell of this former orangery in the grounds of the domain at Haywood, County Laois. Today I want to look at another estate, Tollymore, in County Down, where one man had a considerable influence on the design of the domain and the buildings within it. The man in question was Thomas Wright, something of a polymath. Amongst many other things, he was an astronomer who in 1750 published a book explaining the appearance of the Milky Way. But he was also an architect and a garden designer, and it was for these reasons that he came to Ireland in 1746, brought here by his friend and patron James Hamilton Viscount Limerick, who would later become 1st Earl of Clanbrassil. Lord Limerick had benefited from an extensive grand tour and brought a well-informed sensibility to his Irish properties. He owned the greater part of Dundalk, County Louth, and did much to improve the town during his lifetime. He had his own house in Dundalk, the Manor, and it was here that Thomas Wright stayed while in Ireland. But during the course of the year in this country, Wright also took the opportunity to travel, particularly through the immediate surroundings of Louth. On these excursions, he made drawings of many of the old buildings he saw, and on his return to England in 1748, he published a book called Louthiana, the first example of such a survey of archaeological remains produced in either Britain or Ireland. Louthiana features 74 copper plate sketches and line drawings of ancient field monuments, most of them being the earliest accurate drawings of these places. In addition to his property in Louth, Lord Limerick also owned an estate called Tollymore in adjoining County Down, and in September 1746 he took Thomas Wright up to see it. We believe the two men spent about 8 days there. A topographical map drawn in 1777 gives an idea of the layout of the place 30 years after that visit. Some 25 years earlier, in June 1752, while he was perambulating around Ireland, the cleric and inveterate traveller Richard Pocock called into Tollymore and afterwards wrote in his journal, "This park is in a very fine situation, being divided into two parts by a rivulet which runs in a deep rocky bed covered with trees and affords a most romantic prospect. To this rivulet there is a gentle descent. On the other side, the park takes in for a mile the foot of the high mountains of Mourne. The park is all fine wooden and cut into vistas up the side of the steep hill. There is a handsome bridge over the rivulet, and here, just over it, Lord Limerick has built a thatched open place to dine in, which is very romantic, with a stove nearby to prepare the entertainment." Alas, the thatched open place has long gone. It was probably only made of wood, but it conformed to Thomas Wright's stipulations that such a building should be located on a rugged, rocky foundation close to a wood and near a river. The wildest force of nature, he wrote, being the properest accompaniment. Now, as I say, Thomas Wright only spent a year in Ireland and only visited Tollymore on the one occasion. But his influence lingered long after he had departed these shores and greatly informed the work that Lord Limerick thereafter undertook at Tollymore, as indeed did his son, the second Lord Clanbrassil. Everywhere one wanders around the grounds of Tollymore, there are examples of intentionally rustic Gothic architecture to be seen. What's known as the Old Bridge even predates Thomas Wright's visit, since it carries a stone with the letters IH, standing for James Hamilton, and the year 1726, showing that the estate's owner had already begun to improve his property then. On the other side of the same bridge is another stone carved with the words "Repaired 1822. Other buildings were erected much later, such as a charming Hermitage, which dates from the 1770s and was put up in memory of a family friend, the Marquis of Mothermer, who had died young. The main part of the building stands some 20 feet above a point where the river widens to create a pool, the windows offering views to the water below. Originally inside the Hermitage, a niche held a bust of the young Marquis, only 35 at the time of his death. Other features here can be assigned to the second Lord Clanbrassil, such as this semicircular single-span bridge, which dates from 1787 and carries an inscription with the words H.T. Foley, referring to one of the Earl's nieces, Harriet Foley. Further down, there's yet another bridge, this one called after Lord Clanbrassil. At either side, the parapet splays out towards freestanding rough-cast turrets with pyramid-like spires, again, all very much in the manner of Thomas Wright. So too is the Barbican Gate, a very substantial Gothic structure that dates from 1780 and marked one of the entrances to the Tollymore domain. As you can see, it features a central pointed arch with castellations above, and then flanking towers, the door of one of which leads to a spiral staircase taking you up to the parapet. In total, there were more than 60 structures placed around the Tollymore domain, some of them since lost, but many of them remaining in various states of repair. But what about the house that stood at the centre of it all? Well, as originally completed around 1760, the house was a simple 5-bay, 2-storey structure. Over the next century, it gradually grew larger and larger. In fact, in the end, it proved too large to be manageable, and in the early 1950s, a decade after Tollymore had been acquired by Northern Ireland's Forestry Service, the house was completely demolished. But the memory of Thomas Wright's time in Ireland can still be found throughout the domain in the many buildings here influenced by his ideas. And if you're interested in the subject, a rather marvellous book on Tollymore was published some years ago by his direct descendant, Robert Roden. Thank you so much for watching the Irish Aesthete this week. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Goodbye.